What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So my man Sean Bigga of the My Expert Opinion podcast went on the Bag Fuel podcast with Esso and Heineken, right? And when I first saw this, my son is getting excited. When I first saw this, I say, yo, the optics angle, it ain't looking too good right here. I feel like Hoffa gonna be pissed off that Bigga is standing next to the opposition. Y'all know that Heineken and Esso is the opposition. Hoffa is not on good terms with Heineken and Esso, and I'm like, he gonna probably kick Bigga off the podcast. But Bigga come on there and he reveals that he got problems with Hoffa too. His main problem is that he hasn't been paid for his co-host services the entire time he been on My Expert Opinion. And I'm looking at this like, damn, you can't do the man of God like this, right? Listen, I'm looking like this. Bigga been on the podcast for 3 years and he ain't been paid for his services. That's not cool. And I'm looking like if everybody else getting paid and Bigga's supposed to be working for free off the strength, while Math is getting richer and richer, because y'all know that My Expert Opinion podcast is going through the roof. Like, I've seen it grow since the Yayo interview, the Fat Joe interview. You know, he had D Rose on there. D Rose don't be talking to nobody, right? He came and gave a candid interview to where he dropped gems and stuff that the world never even knew about D Rose. He's from my hometown, right? He done had so many people on there and it's getting bigger and bigger every episode. And so you getting all this money, you raking in the bread and you ain't breaking bread with your people? I'm like, that ain't cool. And then not to mention, Bigga then revealed he helps clean up after the show. After the interview was over with, he helping cleaning up. He's coming but he's also coming for interviews and he's bringing a different perspective than everybody else on the podcast, right? And I'm gonna say this. Yes, Bigga doesn't always talk every episode. He doesn't talk a whole lot, but he's accounted for a few viral moments on the podcast, and he should be compensated for that, right? He the one that challenged Troy Ave. Hey man, you don't think what you did was wrong with polluting your community with drugs? You don't have any remorse for that? Do you think that was a wrong thing? When Yayo interview was getting out of hand, Yayo getting drunk and hiding the motherfucker, and he going crazy, snapping off about street stuff. Bigga tried to pull it back to life experiences. You had a lot of different life experiences. I want to get off the street stuff because we know that. Let's talk about your life experiences, the things you've seen, the traveling you've done as a member of G Unit, right? And it made Yayo expound on certain things that he's seen and experienced as a member of G Unit, being 50 Cent's right-hand man, right? Then he had the episode when he got into it with dude. Now, I don't even remember who it was. Y'all forgive me. New York, forgive me. He got into it with some dudes from New York that was riding with Pac when he felt like Pac was, and Bigga felt like Pac was dissing the whole New York, right? And he felt like we looked at y'all like y'all was some traitors. That was a crazy moment. That was viral, and we was looking like, damn, man, a God is getting out of character. He cussing up a storm, ready to rumble. You know what I mean? So Bigga has brought a different perspective to the podcast. He takes it all away from all the street stuff all the time. Let's talk about your life experiences, your journey. What did you learn from this? What did you learn from that? Did you regret this? Let's talk about, you know, your experiences through your faith, so on and so forth. So I think he is he's a staple of the podcast, whether he talks a lot every episode or not. When he talks to be heard and he says something valuable, right? And so I feel like he should be compensated for that, man. But Bigga himself went on Bad Fuel and said it was never really about the money. What he really was saying with that is it was about reciprocation, right? He wanted Mav support and getting his own channel going, you know? But Mav didn't do that. So Mav, you can't, excuse me, you can't not help the man make his podcast and then not pay him too. Because at this point, how can I look my family in the face? Go home every day, do this podcast. How can I look my wife and my kids in the face with nothing to show for all the time and the effort that I didn't put on your podcast? You're not paying me, right? You're not helping me get my own channel on the ground, off the ground, so I can get compensated on my own time. You know what I mean? If you aren't giving any reciprocation for your time, then at that point, at least compensate me. So I don't feel like I'm here solely for your benefit only. You know what I mean? And that's what Hoffa was doing, right? Now, y'all hear my son right there. Math leaked some payments that he made. And he was alleging that these payments were to Bigga. It was alleged that these payments were to Bigga. But the payments were not for Bigga's time on the podcast. He sent payments to Bigga to pay Bigga's security team. Because Bigga and them do security for Hoffa, right? Bigga has a security team, right? But that money that the payments was not for Bigga's time on the show. It was for him to pay his security team off because Bigga got to make sure they get paid and fed. So that money that Hoffa was sending was for Bigga's security team, not for Bigga himself. And I'm like, nah, man, that ain't cool. You know what I mean? And look at my boy. It's never, and this is the thing too, man. I don't care what nobody say. People got to be compensated for their time when they taking out the time every day to come, and they taking out the time of their day to come and help you do what you're doing, right? And regardless, because I hear people say this too. Now, I heard Bigga say this. I want to make this a point. Because he said Hoffa was getting mad, I guess, if he was coming a little late, like right before the show or something like that, right? And he like, how can you get mad at me and say I'm late and so on and so forth, but I'm not an employee of yours. You're not paying me. So, you know what I mean? You can't get mad at me. You can't have a time stipulation on me to come an hour before. You know what I mean? I get it's your show, but you can't get mad and want to reprimand me when I'm not even getting paid for this. I'm supplying security for you. You paying me for my security detail, but you ain't paying me for my voice and my time and nothing like that. You ain't doing that. So it's like, nah, man. And see, that's why I feel like I would never do business with street dudes unless I'm a street dude too, and I'm not a street dude. Unless I have a strong rapport with these individuals, they like my family, and I know them. Even when they're your family, you gotta know them, right? You gotta have a strong rapport and bond with them. If you're not bonded with a street dude, and he know that you yourself, you're not a street dude, they gonna try to get over on you, right? Math is a dude that's a street dude, ran in the streets. He was known for being on his bully with people, knocking out dudes and battle raps and all type of little shicey shit like that. And so now I feel like he feels that he got the upper hand. Bigga's the man of God, even though Bigga's a solid stand-up man. He feel like, oh, he ain't gonna get out of character with me for not paying him. He ain't gonna say nothing. So of course, Hoffa ain't paying Bigga because he feel like Bigga ain't gonna say nothing, and he feel like he got the upper hand as the real street dude in the room, to where, hey, he ain't gonna feel no consequences of nothing happening to him behind not paying Bigga. And that's what happened when street dudes work with dudes who are considered civilians. They don't fear any type of consequences to doing them shiesty. So they just gonna do them however they want to do them. And that's the wrong way to handle business. Hoffa gotta pay that man. I don't care. How you don't want to pay a man for services, but then get mad if he ain't coming to the interview an hour before or on the time that you setting? He's not an employee of yours, man. And you're not helping him get his own podcast off the ground like he requested. So what is going on here, man? And that ain't cool, man. Hoffa being bogus. He getting a big lump of that pie. He's being selfish. He being greedy. He want a lot of that pie to himself, but he want all these dudes on the podcast. How you don't want to pay your mans? That ain't solid, man. That ain't official. And if you don't do good business like that, your rapport, your name gonna be bad out here if you ain't paying the people that's closest to you. People that's supposed to be your homie now. You ain't paying your brother now. How you gonna expect to do business with other people? If you don't pay your brother, you ain't gonna pay me. That's how I'm gonna look at it. You know what I mean? And Bigga been on there 3 years. That shit ain't cool at all, man. I don't care what's going on. That man needs to get compensated for his time and his effort so his wife can look and say, that's a lucrative opportunity he's doing. Peace.